Hello, Professor Horak. My name is Alex Hager, and this is my presentation for the value proposition um, presentation. Um, just a little background here. I'm going to be kind of like drawing pictures and writing things on the whiteboard behind me because I'm definitely a better visual learner and I think visually. So explaining it this way helps me, and I hope it makes sense to you. So yeah, just a real quick intro. My business idea is an app company, and the app company would just be making different apps. I don't have any specific apps right now, but this is just like the general idea for what the company would look like, essentially. All right. So first off, I want to start with just the app company in general, and I put that in the middle just to like center my thoughts, I guess. Basically, the first things that I know that I would need are app developers, because I personally don't have the skills to write code. Like, that blows my mind how good they are. But first and foremost, I need those guys. Then I know I would need lawyers, and I would need accountants to make sure that I'm doing my taxes right and all of that stuff. And then I would need marketers. Would need a good marketing team for sure. I would need a good human resources team. But this would be more of a later thing. I would need human resources right away, especially when I'm starting out. I would need a good customer service team. And for the real basics, that's about it. And just kind of like start with everything as we go. Going back to app developers, I understand app developers, they're going to need computers. They're going to need their knowledge. They're going to need other software. They're going to need hardware, an office space, all of that stuff. Well, originally they might not necessarily need an office space, simply because they would just need a computer. They can work from home originally until they really need an office. But yeah, otherwise the lawyers would have their training, the accountants would have their training. At the time they would need computers too, the hardware, all of that stuff for both, essentially all three of them. But they would all, and the marketing team and the customer service, everybody would need computers, a place to work, a desktop, all of that stuff. But that's in general, for the most part, kind of like the basics. But so for inbound logistics, I know for a fact that I would need my app developers, because the thing most important coming in to build the product is their knowledge. So that's what I'm getting coming in. I'm getting their knowledge and the things that they'll be able to write in, like HTML and Ionic and JSW and all this other stuff that they would be knowledgeable in. And then I would also need inbound. I would need their computers, which I found that the best is like the Dell XPS 15. Those are good computers, and that's basically what I would try to give them, as well as there's a similar laptop out there that they could take home. So I need the computers, and then software. There's a lot of similar softwares. They don't really need software. GitHub is a big one, but that's free. You don't need to pay a whole lot, so that wouldn't be too much. And then I would also need, obviously, office space and desks and all that stuff. And all of that would cost, the computers would cost $1,500 a piece. That's $7,500. And then the software wouldn't cost, it'd maybe be like $50 a month at most. And then add desks and whatnot. Operations would be writing the code for the apps, making marketing plans, working with accountants, which originally the accountants and the lawyers are probably going to be outsourced. I'm going to have to go to different firms like Brady and Martz, and there's a lawyer firm. I have relatives that are lawyers, so I'd be talking with them a lot. at first before like we gain enough revenue to actually like hire employees in that sense. Outbound logistics would be using the Apple Store and the Android Store, and putting our apps on those, as well as using Amazon servers to store all of the data and make all the different calls and whatnot to actually run the app, which is where the app would be stored, and all the APIs. So that would pretty much be the outbound logistics, setting it up and whatnot from the operations. Marketing is going to be huge. Big deal with apps is research. You need to know what the consumer's like and everything. That's super important. And then marketing would most likely be like marketing on different apps and marketing on your phone and whatnot. And that's a lot of ads. And then customer service, just in general, like a number to call and just a people set up, going through complaints and whatnot. And that doesn't need to be too many people. They just need to have a computer and a phone and whatnot, just to make sure nothing's crashing terribly. Procurement, that's basically buying all of the stuff that we need. That shouldn't be too difficult. I would go to each leader of each team and kind of figure out what they needed. HR, that would, for the most part, would be me. I'd be hiring people right away, but then once I didn't have time anymore, I'd probably go out and find an experienced HR person and work with all of my team leaders for marketing and app development and lawyers and accountants when we're big enough to actually like figure out who needs to be brought in. Tech development, so that for the most part, we will be constantly looking for new technology, but for the most part, we're going to be super up to date every year, and we're not going to need a whole lot because we're building the technology ourselves. And then lastly, infrastructure. Basically, I'll be at the top. And then I'll have all of my team leaders for like the development, the lawyers, the accountants, the marketers, and then they'll have people underneath them, and that's how we'll run it. And I'll be working with them to hire people that's connected to HR. So yeah, and then in terms of all of those connections, basically HR will hire all the accountants, the lawyers, the service people, the marketing people, app developers, so they're all combined. The marketing team is connected with the app development team to make sure that they know what to build and how they're going to market the products effectively. Accountants are going to need to get all the ad revenue from the developers after the apps are on the store. The lawyers are going to have to check to make sure that all of the app developers stuff is legal, all the terms and agreements and all of that stuff and whatnot. Essentially, I know I'm running out of time, but there's a ton to go through, and I hope that kind of gives you an idea. And in terms of making sure that everything is running smoothly and effectively, and ensuring quality, I would be doing a lot of audits, and I'd be working with team members and probably outsourcing and going and finding other firms that I can pay to audit my company for me and bring a lot of outside consulting and help in, and doing things like that. Outside of that, all of the idea processes, I would use everybody from the entire company. I think you can get ideas from everybody, so I'd be using the marketing team, the lawyers, the accountants, the customer service people, and I'd bring them all together in focus groups and have them try to figure stuff out. So that's basically my plan in general, just in terms of kind of like what my company would be in terms of the value proposition. And yeah. So lastly, I know that I need to talk about my biggest takeaways. I think that the biggest takeaways were everything's a lot more in depth. You think of everything on the surface, but you really need to explore kind of like the logistics, like what the nitpicky things, like I wrote in my report. Didn't have much time here, but just like what kind of computers, what kind of code do the developers need, like what are the procedures and whatnot. The areas that I think need most work will probably be the marketing and the app developers, because they're the core group, like they're the ones that really make the product. Everything else can be kind of outsourced for now. And then what areas you'll need to learn as you go. As I go, just kind of like marketing, especially, I'll need to figure out. I won't really know how to market that exactly right at first, and we'll kind of like learn as we go, as well as figuring out what employees are the best, which ones work the hardest, and how to screen for them. So basically human resources. And then lastly, yeah, I would find this assignment pretty valuable. It helped me quite a bit, and I do really appreciate the opportunity to work with you and to learn from you, and to really work on my business and expand it as I've been growing here throughout college. So thank you. You've been a great teacher, and have a great break. I think I'll see you again in finance as long as I pass. Knock on wood. Have a great day. Bye.